Howdy Compo Crew, in this video I'm going to be going through the pros and cons of the different options for composting toilet mediums. And we're going to try and answer the question of, well, which is the best? We're often asked this question, but I always find seeing them side by side is helpful. So let's dive in. Before we dive in, what is a composting toilet medium? A composting toilet medium, also known as a bulking agent, composting material, litter or substrate, is a substance that you add to a composting toilet to aid the breakdown of waste and prevent odors. Now, the toilet medium can be any organic material that's high in carbon and low in nitrogen. The most common ones are sawdust, wood shavings, hemp, cocoa coir, sphagnum peat moss can also be used, and also hay. Now, the addition of this carbon-rich material is what differentiates odorless composting toilets from a smelly bucket toilet. But what exactly does this composting medium do? The truth is, it doesn't just do one thing, it actually does several. Firstly, the extra carbon balances out the nitrogen in the toilet materials and provides the food for the microbes to decompose the poo. Secondly, it covers the poo so it smells less and you don't have to look at it. Thirdly, it traps air around the poo so that the microbes remain aerobic and you don't create bad smells. In summary though, all of these things add up to just making your toilet smell less and just make it a happier place for people and a helpful place for microbes. We'll be returning to these factors as we look into detail of each of these different options. So what composting toilet medium can you use in your composting toilet? There are several composting toilet mediums you can use. Cocoa coir, aka coconut coir, is a natural fiber extracted from the husks of a mature coconut. It's brown in color, which is the right color, and it should not be confused with white coir made from mature coconut seeds, which isn't as strong. Make sure to look for cocoa coir manufactured using fresh water over salt water, which can cause high salt levels in your resulting compost. Coir from freshwater sources is a versatile grow medium, and it's actually used in gardening and horticulture as a seedling starter, soil amendment, or component in potting mixes. Cocoa coir makes a sustainable alternative to peat moss, which we're going to discuss later on. And generally, you have to hydrate it before adding it to your composting toilet. Additionally, it's pH neutral, free from pathogens, and is great for covering compost loose smells. For all you composting toilet users, cocoa coir is often sold in compact bricks or briquettes, making it easy to store, especially for tiny spaces like RVs, narrowboats, sailboats, trailers, or tiny houses. Keyword stuff. It's readily available online at your jungle-themed retailer, as well as pet stores and garden centres. You may find it hard to pick up in smaller towns, however. Another option is hemp, or hemp shiv. This is derived from the cannabis stem, but cut like wood shavings or straw, it degrades faster than wood and is an excellent alternative to sawdust for those looking for a more sustainable option. Now, you should be able to find shiv or hurd readily available at a builder's merchant, a garden centre or a pet store, as it's very nice and soft for pets. Now remember, if you have a portable compost toilet, you won't see decomposition, so make sure you go for hemp shiv or the coir over the hemp fibre that's used to make clothes. You don't want to get that wrapped around your agitator. While they're often used interchangeably, sawdust comprises fine particles of wood, whereas wood shavings comprise slightly larger slivers of wood. Wood is a tough material, however, so size is important. Very large wood shavings or wood chips we don't recommend for composting toilets because they take a long time to break down due to their large size. But also very fine sawdust is too fine and actually clogs and doesn't provide enough oxygen for the bacteria. Now, very fine sawdust can become waterlogged and anaerobic when wetted, so isn't recommended. Sawdust is also used as a carbon-based soil amendment, and it can improve soil structure and water retention when mixed with soil. However, sawdust can be acidic and deplete soil nitrogen if it's not adequately composted first. It's wise to check that your wood is not from a treated wood source. These can include chemicals or glues that are harmful to your soil organisms. Pet bedding is normally a good size as the wood shavings are fine and soft, perfect for your furry friend and your toilet, and they won't contain chemicals. Sawdust and wood shavings should not be completely bone dry, however. Storing them after wetting them or even leaving them outside in the rain will make them biologically active and accelerate the composting process to reduce odors. So much like coir, they're easier to store because they take up less bulk. They probably sit somewhere there. You can readily buy sawdust or compressed wood pellets from pet stores, which is excellent if you're on the road. What's missing from this list, some of you will notice, is sphagnum peat moss. I personally can't recommend this medium because I'm not sure how sustainable it is. Sphagnum peat moss is formed from the partial decomposition of sphagnum moss. It's widely used in horticulture and gardening as a soil conditioner or a component in potting mixes. However, functioning peatland ecosystems are some of the most carbon-rich terrestrial ecosystems on Earth. Globally, peatlands lock up an estimated 550 billion tons of CO2. Now, I tried to determine if peat moss was sustainable before making this video, but I couldn't get a satisfactory answer. There's lots of debate on the internet about the sustainability. There's information from producers that it's renewable at our current rate of consumption. In the UK, compost is actually now peat-free for consumer use by law and will be for commercial use in due course. Because peat bogs are so valuable for the climate crisis, I prefer not to encourage people to consume more of a natural resource if there's an alternative waste streams we can use for the same purpose. How do I know if something contains carbon? There's a simple way you can work out if you can use something as a cover material, and that is to ask, if I dried it, would it burn? All of the above materials contain carbon and will burn on a fire when dry. Sand and soil don't burn, so don't contain carbon. The microbes can't feed on sand and soil, so they won't help the composting process. What about biochar? That's a good question that I thought about on the way here. It's full of carbon and it has odor-absorbing properties, so if you've used biochar, let me know. That said, everything that burns should not always be used on a composting toilet. Here's a list that we don't recommend using and why. Firstly, synthetic or cotton-based pet bedding. Both options are going to get caught around your agitator, and synthetic things won't compost in the first place, and cotton requires a lot of water to produce. Another option we don't recommend is hay or straw. Now, you can use this if the peaches are short enough, and they would act similarly to this hemp fibre, but they would just take longer to break down and are less absorbent. Hay can also have an unpleasant smell if it gets too wet, so for that reason it's on our would rather not recommend list. That said, hay is actually a very good cover material for your compost pile. It's very insulating and traps lots of air, and it's typically put all around the sides of the compost pile to allow airflow in but not the compost out. Another one is wood chips or pine bark. These are larger pieces of wood. Wood is very tough, it contains lignin and it's very hard to break down. So with these larger pieces, they just won't break down very easily in your compost. Paper. As paper gets moist, it starts to break down and form clumps. And over time, you'll end up with a paper mache artwork you won't want to show off. So we don't recommend dried paper. Dried coffee grounds. While coffee is great for covering up toilet smells and in small amounts can be suitable for your compost piles, you need to be careful how much you use in anything you want to add to the garden. We'll let the Horticulture magazine explain why. The other issue with coffee grounds is the sheer amount of coffee you would have to drink in order to get enough coffee grounds daily. It's probably not enough for covering your poo each visit. Soil. If you have a static compost toilet at home, using some from the garden might seem okay. The problem is it doesn't contain carbon, so we don't recommend using soil. Ashes, lime, and sand. Sand doesn't contain any oxygen. A little bit of wood ash can be helpful if you're not separating liquid waste from your solids chamber. This is because wood ash from your campfire is very alkaline, which prevents the formation of ammonia, which is a common reason for a smelly toilet. Kitty litter. Either the pebbles or the clumping option are no-go for composting toilets. They don't generally hide the smell, they'll clump together, and they don't have enough carbon to start the composting process. Anything synthetic. Plastics contain carbon in their polymer chains and they will burn, but as we know from the plastic crisis, they definitely don't compost. Compostable plastics shouldn't be used in your composting toilet either. They don't absorb material, they don't absorb moisture, and they generally require high temperatures to break down in industrial composting. So what is the best medium to use in a composting toilet? Typically, we recommend something that is readily available and compact. This is often wood or hemp pet bedding or wood pellet cat litter from pet stores. Wood shavings from sawdust mills are also great because they're keen to get rid of it. Cocoa coir from garden centres or pet stores is also great. I tend to opt for cocoa coir because it is very compact before it's hydrated, so I can keep a spare brick in my camper van. It's also brown, which helps with the solids bin, keeping it dark and just making it look nice. So in our experience, cocoa coir is the best medium to use in a composting toilet because it's easy to store, taking up little room when it's dehydrated. It's easy to buy and reasonably priced. It's very effective at starting the composting process because it has a high surface area. It effectively reduces any odors. It helps you control moisture levels in your toilet. It's also a waste product, so you're actually using some of the roughly 50 billion coconuts grown annually worldwide. with 85% of the coconut husks currently create pollution. The higher the demand for coconut husk, the more investment in projects that deal with this waste and return plant matter to the earth with products like coco coir briquettes. Most importantly, however, it's brown. Now, coco coir isn't perfect as it's not grown locally here in the UK, so I'm always looking for more sustainable options. That's it for this video. If it's been helpful, give it a thumbs up to boost my ego. If you've got thoughts or suggestions, then leave a comment below and be sure to subscribe for more tips on composting toilets and some hot developments coming later this year. Cheers, Compo Crew.